And here we are in week 18. And here we go in week 18. All right. Let's do this thing.
You got a team, here's a word of the wise. You want to dominate your league? Go to Football Guys.
Football, I'm living in a fantasy. Football, got everybody mad at me. Football, cause every game I had to win. Football, I gotta be a champion. Football, I'm living in a fantasy.
That's right. It is the week 18 preview here on the Audible. It is Cecil, Lammey. It is Sigmund Bloom. It is, well, you're going to know a lot about your league mates, Bloom, based on how they're reacting to the Buffalo-Cincinnati game, which doesn't even matter. I've said it on the air. I'll repeat it here, Bloom, and then I will allow you to proselytize as well, because this is about humanity. This is about being a person. This is about caring. Haven't we had conversations about caring and just being a human with Damar Hamlin's injury and still in critical condition? I'm trying to find the latest here, Bloom, as I'm going through. But either way, like, the fantasy football doesn't matter, y'all. Like, I know whatever leagues, whatever, but you're going to find out a lot about your league mates. Hopefully you're in a league where everyone's pretty chill about these things, because it's not about you or me or Josh Allen's points or whatever. It's about the health of a young man who had cardiac arrest on the field. That's what it's about. So, as I said on the air, I will repeat it here, Bloom.
Yeah.
And I know you'll back me up. I know our audience will back me up, because this is what it's like to be a human. If you are complaining about your fantasy league, you're a garbage person. If you're complaining about your parlays, you're a garbage person. If you're politicizing this, which does happen, you're a garbage person. And I'll also throw this other one in, because we're seeing a lot of people do what you can only do during these tragedies. And it's always best to have patience. It's always best to wait. It's always best to send out those positive vibes. And yes, that means prayers. And a prayer is a positive vibe. And I don't care if you're praying to Buddha or Allah or Lord Jesus Christ. It doesn't matter. Like, pray. Put out those positive vibes. And if you are telling someone that prayers don't work, you are a garbage person. Period. Point blank. This is a time where you got to just put everything to the side, and please just hope this young man can live. It's not even about playing football again, Bloom. It's just about, like, okay, there's so many major things going on with Hamlin's health that we all should be concerned with. And this is, it's a time where you find out a lot about people. It's why
Sure.
I like hearing a lot of different opinions, because then I know about someone.
Yeah.
When people are quiet and when people are quieted, you're like, I don't really know about them. When someone starts popping off the mouth during these type of things, you get to know a lot about that person, and you get to go, oh, that's a low vibration. I don't want to be around that.
Yeah. I mean, there's not much I can really add or shed light on with respect to what happened. Damar Hamlin, I think Ty Dunn, who has been doing incredible work humanizing
Absolutely. Greatest work ever.
Yeah. Great. It was great to have him on the couch this year, finally. And he did a piece. He sat down and got wings with him, Damar Hamlin. Where do we get wings? In Buffalo? He's from Pittsburgh. And Damar Hamlin is made out of McKees rocks. He saw a lot of people he knew die. He always said, "I love you" to everybody, because he knows he'll be back. Hopefully, we pray, we send our positive vibes to everybody involved. But I suppose the one thing I'll say here is, I think we on this show have been trying to humanize football for the whole length of the show. It's been one of our main ethos: glory to the game, glory to the players. And hopefully this is not something that a couple of weeks we just go back to the trance, and not just football, everything. It's the humanity in everything, every day, every interaction, every moment, that glimmer, that twinkle in your eye. And as far as fantasy football goes, to get to the practical stuff, most reports I'm hearing from folks are that people are being very flexible, very understanding, conciliatory in resolving these things. And like you said, Cease, it's another clarifying moment. And it's not just this. It's a lot of things that are clarifying moments. Things that when things in the world show their true nature. And from a practical perspective, I'll lay this out. And first of all, I will offer us football guys, myself, as if you want a neutral arbiter, we can be the neutral arbiter if it needs be come to that. But I think there's an article I wrote, it's going to come out today, just saying here's some guidelines. Okay, first of all, if you're in a league software, I think you basically abide by whatever the league software says. Now, some league softwares are saying it's final. Some league softwares are saying we're waiting to see what's going to happen. Some league softwares are saying we're entering it as this, but you can override that if you want. So just like we've always done, right? If there's a scoring issue, there was a fumble recovery in the end zone, does it count as an offensive touchdown? Do offensive touchdowns get credited to your fantasy team?
Right.
You think it's fair or not fair, but whatever the league software said, if you got the 6 points, you got the 6 points. If you didn't, you didn't. Stat corrections, et cetera, et cetera. So we're used to this in fantasy football, that the final arbiter is the league software. And then if the two people involved aren't happy with the outcome the league software gives out, then you can have a negotiation, have a dialogue, and the commissioner's there to facilitate that dialogue. The goal is for everybody to want to come back and play fantasy football together next year, or if not play fantasy football, for everyone to still be on really good terms with each other and feeling good about each other. And that should govern how you proceed. But I think because of the nature of how we got here with fantasy football having this open-ended cliffhanger, the NFL season, we're going to get to this when we preview the games. A situation like no other. I don't think there's ever been a suspended game that wasn't finished on that day. So this is a new situation, and we can say there are rules or precedents. Not really. We'll see. But I think, like you said, Cease, bringing it back to what you said, it's a clarifying moment. It's a revealing moment. And it comes back to humanity. It comes back to what's important. And at least what we've always felt was important and been about on this show is spending time together, having shared experiences, improving each other's life, having a positive effect. And hopefully we can carry that forward and not just have it be something that gets caught up in the drumbeat, the rat race, whatever you want to call it, that puts us back in the trance, because this is a very special, precious thing that all of us are in possession of. And every human being is a special, precious thing that is to be cherished, to be protected, and to have as much energy as we are projecting. It's been really interesting to watch this reaction, and I hopefully this can be a new starting point for how we engage with all these things in the world that seem so distant. But at least in this moment, I think it felt very immediate and very close for a lot of people.
Very much so. And now the awkward transition that we must make at
Tano.
times. Yeah, week 18, everybody. Which, I don't know about you, Bloom, but I don't play any week 18 championships. Again, it may be total points leagues, all those sorts of things. There's definitely some options. But what did you say the other day, Bloom? Get rid of the week 14 bye?
Yeah,
so people can have the normal championship.
16. Yeah, and look, and I'm not going to dunk on anybody who has anything going on in week 18, because, I mean, let's face it, fantasy football is ridiculous, right? We're predicting the future. We're tying the fortunes of fake teams we make up to our fake GM decisions in our fake leagues. So if you decide, well, I think week 18 is a puzzle that I like to try to solve, and we together try to solve it and put something on it, okay, good for you. I mean, I'm not going to say it's any less ridiculous to try to solve week 18 than is the others. Maybe we have a few more knowns than unknowns in week 3 than we do in week 18. But hey, we're here, and still we get to do this. We get to wake up and do this as part of our job, Cease, instead of a lot of the much more difficult things a lot of people listening to the show right now have to do. And for that, we're thankful.
Okay. Saturday games. Kansas City and the Las Vegas Raiders. And well, this will tie into the Buffalo thing, considering what the league does here. And I think, like, whatever happens, and we're recording Wednesday morning if you're listening to this later, so we just don't know yet what's going to happen in the Bills and Bengals situation. Kansas City working towards that number one pick if they possibly can, but whatever, we'll figure that out. But for this game, going against the Raiders, we're doing both sides at once, Bloom, just because we got a lot to get through. We're doing one preview show this week.
Sure.
So let's talk about both of these sides. And did the Raiders actually find something with Jarrett Stidham?
Right.
Like, oh, okay. And pot stoner degenerate Jason talking about when is the Raiders. Jason, it's right now.
Right now.
Glad you're here, buddy.
Yeah. And do you want to do all the games in one take, or are we going to go each side?
No, let's do both teams.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just clarifying. This is behind the scenes direction there. First of all, from a fantasy perspective, this is definitely a shootout game. We saw the Raiders have a shootout with the 49ers, which was a defense we thought wasn't going to get in any shootouts. Again, it's indefinite. We don't know. Does Kansas City get the 1 seed with a win? Maybe NFL is hoping the Raiders win. So then that takes away Buffalo if they can beat the New England Patriots, and the 1 seed's not at stake anymore. Who knows? But for Kansas City, we know the offense. It's Mahomes, Kelsey, McKinnon. And someone pointed out, boy, if you just took whoever was behind Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you did pretty well in your fantasy leagues. It's a mess at wide receiver, but Kadarius Toney's coming on. That's something to think about for the present and for the future for this team.
Aren't you always worried about Kadarius Toney? Like, he's doing great now, and then he's going to get hurt.
Right. Well, and we can remove from a fantasy perspective that we've all taken the bait too many times already in only year or two of his career. But from an NFL perspective, he can definitely be a difference maker and definitely be, even if he just contributes on a handful of plays, be someone who tilts the scales for an already very formidable Kansas City offense. On the Vegas side, was it really just having a quarterback who knew Josh McDaniel's system? Was that the problem all along? That we talk about, see certain offensive coordinators, certain offensive minds. They just need a quarterback who's an extension of them, right? Like they have the joystick and they're on the sidelines and they're playing the video game with a quarterback who understands how they think. Was that it? I don't know. So much up in the air with this franchise. We'll see where Derek Carr ends up. We'll see if they bring back Josh Jacobs. What about Devontae Adams? Did he come to play with Derek Carr? So are those two tied together? It's a very confusing franchise. If you're Mark Davis, if you're Mark Davis, I don't even know how to simulate that. But what's the lesson you take away from the season? Because remember, this team lost by one to Kansas City earlier this year. They lost in overtime. They've lost by one to the Rams. They lost on the last drive to the Steelers. They had another loss by 2 points, I think, to the Titans. That's 5 games. You flip those 5 games. This is a team going to the playoffs. This is a team that we're saying, wow, we were excited about them when Devontae Adams got traded. We were excited when they hired Josh McDaniels. And now we have a team that would be a playoff team with Jarrett Stidham. Again, I'm confused, but maybe they can eliminate some of the confusion about what happens with Buffalo Cincinnati if they can win this one.
If they can win one, how about winning one in the AFC South? That is Tennessee and Jacksonville. It is up next, and Tennessee is going with Josh Dobbs, who I lovingly have called the egghead quarterback because he is a rocket scientist.
Yes.
And
it's not rocket science. Well,
for him, and he's way better than Malik Willis, of course. And Derrick Henry got that rest so that he can get back out there. And we know Tennessee's plan. We also know Jacksonville's plan. There are multiple assets that they can go to. This one's at home for Jacksonville, and it's about building your culture. We know Mike Vrabel, regardless of whoever's playing quarterback or whatever they have to do, they've got their culture, that Vrabel sort of mindset. So this could be a little tougher than Jacksonville would think.
This is fun. It's a playoff game in week 18. And we have Joshua Dobbs. And I guess the clear reason here is Dobbs activates more of the passing game than Malik Willis can at this point. And honestly, see, we can get into a discussion here about quarterback development. There are some quarterbacks it helps for them to learn on the job. And then there's some quarterbacks that if you're putting them out there before they're ready, you're actually setting back their development. I wonder if the Titans internally decided that, hey, this isn't helping Willis, this isn't helping the team, but it's really about Henry. And then we're watching always the future in week 18, right? your man Chiggy Okonkwo, Traylon Burks, he's back. So the A.J. Brown trade and some of the players that are going to fill that void, maybe trying to make a difference in this game. On the Jacksonville side, Doug Peterson looms over this in a very positive way. And remember, when the Eagles won the Super Bowl with Doug Peterson at the helm, the talk was, this is a team about love. This is a team that loves playing with each other. It's positive, right? It's not fear of failure that motivates this team. I think you're seeing some of that come through. And Trevor Lawrence, we talk about Burrow and Allen and Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes and this vanguard of young quarterbacks in the AFC. We weren't talking about Trevor Lawrence in that conversation. This game on a national stage is a chance for him to put himself in that conversation because, well, he'll get a chance to play another one of those quarterbacks, probably Justin Herbert. We'll get to that game, or otherwise be in the mix. And then you have Travis Etienne, again, this pair of players from Clemson, just go right down the road to Jacksonville. And of course, Trent Baalke is part of this conversation. Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, these were all big signings for this team, and it's come together. Everything is in alignment here. So we dunked on Trent Baalke. We thought, hey, this is not a GM that should survive after Urban Meyer is let go, but here he is, getting this team part of the story of how they get here in what should be a very entertaining Saturday night.
A very entertaining game. And Baltimore-Cincinnati. Is it going to have Lamar Jackson? If you want it to be entertaining, it's probably going to have Lamar Jackson. We don't know yet if that's going to happen. Obviously, we're dealing with Cincinnati again, so we'll see how that plays into the conversation. And people are putting out good, kind thoughts and prayers for T. Higgins as well. It's like, yeah, because you're on the other side of that, and that happens after a hit. Like, yeah, you're going to have some feelings about that. So anyway, let's get into our feelings about this game in the AFC North.
Yeah, and we potentially would have had clarity. Cincinnati would have had a chance to clinch the division, still be in the running for the number 1 seed if the game had been finished and they had won that game. So maybe this is for the division. Again, we have to shrug our shoulders and say we're not really sure the significance of these games, but we're going to watch to see if Lamar Jackson is back. The Edwards-Dobbins split, Dobbins ran well, but John Harbaugh seemed unhappy that Gus Edwards wasn't used more. So we're going to watch that. They're both just what the heck flex plays. Really, Mark Andrews is a key player here who did bounce back for fantasy, bounce back to have a big effect on what passing game they have with Tyler Huntley and really what passing game they have with Lamar Jackson. But we can see the blueprint here that even with Lamar Jackson, this is a team now that wants to get into a street fight. They want to win with defense. They want to win with the running game. They want to win by limiting mistakes, which in this all-star cast of quarterbacks in the AFC doesn't sound like a recipe that's going to take you too far. As far as Cincinnati goes, we know the story here that Hayden Hurst is back. You got the full set of receivers. You've got a team that is surging through the gauntlet of a schedule that they had. The main question here is just the emotional response. And again, I think this is a situation where we don't have a precedent. Now, I do want to say PFF Pete Damalitis, I think is his last name, put out there. I'm going to take this moment out since we're on Cincinnati to say there was an NFL player who died on the field in the early 70s. I tweeted this stuff
71,
out.
Yeah,
I tweeted this stuff out on Tuesday morning. If you check out my Twitter, there were 2 players in the AFL that died. And of course, you can go back to the beginnings of football, and Teddy Roosevelt had to step in because of so many deaths in the early turn of the century, early 20th century professional football. Death was part of the game. And it's important to think about that. There's Corey Stringer. I'm thinking about him, Cease. Mm-hmm. Dan Deerdorf did a spot this week about there was a player that had, I think, cardiac arrest in the late 70s in a practice. So again, it's fragile, it's precious life here. And for the players in Cincinnati, they had a reminder of that's going to echo and resonate. And it's traumatic what they've been through. So we'll see how they can respond, because it'll be a talk about Cease. First and foremost, this is an emotional game.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. Tampa Bay and Atlanta is our next game up, Bloom, and the Buccaneers are going to play their starters.
Yeah.
The Buccaneers are going to play their starters. Now, is it for a half, Eddie? Is it 3/4? Is it the full game? Like, Tampa Bay is going to play their starters, and Atlanta Well, and you've seen who's come through, and you liked what you see from Tyler Algier. You look as the season goes on, what that rookie has done, what the future holds for that young man. You get excited about that. So Tampa Bay is going to play their starters. That's my note on this game. Like, what the hell does that mean, and why are they doing it?
It's kind of like the third preseason game, right? I know that a discussion that we've had, maybe 20, 25 years ago, we said, "Oh, first round bye is great. You want that bye, you want that rest, you want to be primed." And then there was I think the Peyton Manning Colts often was part of the discussion. Is it good? Is it good to sit for 2 weeks? Is it good to not play?
Well, Tony Dungy had shut him down on like December 1st. It would be after Thanksgiving, and the Colts would have everything wrapped up, and they'd be like, "Oh, let's sit everybody." Like, they took it to a bit of an extreme, in my opinion.
So somewhere in the middle is what we'll see from Tampa, I think. Like the third preseason game, the old third preseason game, where you play a quarter and a half, because you don't want to be rusty. We saw this with Tampa against the Rams last year in the playoffs, and then they almost pulled it off. And then for Atlanta, you're building for the future. And I suppose it was a better season than expected in terms of wins and losses. Some of these picks, Algier, Drake London, looks like they've got some hits here. Troy Anderson looks good on defense too when he gets on the field. So for Atlanta, we're looking ahead to the future. For Tampa Bay, we're looking ahead to a wild card game. It's going to be Philadelphia. It's going to be Dallas. Either way, the team they're facing is going to be very disappointed to be going in to Tampa and facing Tom Brady.
Facing Tommy Brady. And, well, here we go with battle in the AFC East. It's Patriots and it's the Bills. So, again, we go back through this, and, I guess we have to talk about Mac Jones. I guess Rodgers Stevenson, right? If you're playing in week 18, all right, well, that's been working out a little bit. Maybe not as much as you'd want, but either way. And then here we go, the Buffalo side. So it's kind of, the same thing, Bloom, of overcoming those emotions when you're back out on the football field.
Yeah. And we'll see what happens in the next few days that may make this inspirational, may make them feel distracted. But on the New England side, there's no distraction here. Win and you're in. That's where they are set now. You have to beat the best team in your division, maybe the best team in the AFC. Ramondre Stevenson is a star falling. We've seen already this year, it looked like he maybe was the running back of the future for this team, running back of the present, but he's been faltering. And I think they may look to Damian Harris more in the running game. Tyquan Thornton, you mentioned it in the recap piece. This is a future, maybe present in week 18 impact player. Jacoby Myers, a present impact player going to free agency. Hunter Henry had a reasonable stat line if you're looking for a tight end. And there's tons of motivation here. Again, with Buffalo, we can only speculate. The players themselves, I think, this is the word that keeps coming back is unprecedented. There's not really something we can look back to in the past to compare the situation to. And we know that Buffalo is a team that is a pretty tight-knit team. It's a tight-knit community. And
nobody circles the wagons, right?
Right. Yes.
Like the Buffalo Bills.
So obviously for them to stay in contention for the 1 seed, they need to win this game. The New England secondary is depleted, but Buffalo also wants to establish the run with James Cook, with Devin Singletary, and we'll see. It's going to be definitely a pretty heavy scene in Buffalo, but it could also be one of those scenes that maybe football's the washing machine. Once the ball's in the air on the kickoff, this is familiar. We feel okay when we're back here. Isn't that what fantasy football and watching football on Sundays with your friends and so on is all about? So hopefully that can be something kind of cleansing for this team to get back to doing the thing that they've been preparing most of their lives to do.
Is Kirk Cousins going to throw a bunch of picks this week? Probably not. Chicago. I guess I'll check out NFLweather.com and see what the weather reports are. But it's the Vikings and the Bears up next. And you're thinking, please, Justin Jefferson, can you snap out of it? And if you're Kirk Cousins, can you please stop throwing interceptions? So the Viking side looking up. On the Bears side, we don't know if Justin Fields is going to play. Bloom, how many yards to rushing record?
64.
64. Okay, I was going to say 67. My favorite year of the first generation of Mustang. Anyway, 64 and a half. The very first Mustang. Will Justin Fields be out there running over defenders on his way to that rushing record? They don't even know if he's going to play. So And again, if the player health and safety is truly what it's about, and if he's truly banged up, he doesn't need that record. He'll have another opportunity. It's called next year. But we'll see, Bloom, in this one where Minnesota should get right in this divisional game.
Right. Minnesota, the puzzle, the 12-4 team that has a minus 24 point differential. You would say there's not much to gain. They're probably locked into the 3 seed, and a rematch with the Giants, a game that went down to the wire in Minnesota just a few weeks ago. But is this team questioning themselves? We're questioning them. Are they questioning themselves? So how important is it for them to play the starters to win this game? And obviously for Chicago, I won't say it's important to lose this game, but if Houston beats Indy, possible, then Chicago could be in the number 1 pick. Either way, Chicago's going to get an elite defender. Matt Eberflus is going to get that DeForest Buckner type to key his defense, whether they're picking 1, 2, or 3. Like we said, there's Justin Fields. Is this farewell to David Montgomery, who heads into free agency, obviously gave a lot to this team through some rough time. And so we shrug our shoulders about Minnesota. And how does Kevin O'Connell, first-year head coach, handle where his team is at mentally, emotionally right now, knowing that they keep finding ways to win one-score games, but they also have been outclassed too many times for a team that should have Super Bowl aspirations.
Yep. And you haven't done anything yet.
Yeah.
That's the problem with Minnesota is like, we're so good. We're awesome. We're rolling. Huh? Can't fall asleep at the wheel, so to speak. If you're the Minnesota Vikings, does this next game even need to be played? Texans and Colts, like, can't they just play Madden or something?
Right.
Like, seriously, and make
Skills
it like
competition.
funny. Yeah, put Jeff Saturday on one of the controllers, Lovie Smith on one of the other controllers, right? Because they have no idea what they're doing, and then that determines the outcome. So it's Texans and it's Colts, and it's making me question life decisions.
Right, exactly. There are a few games a year that make us wonder, what have I done with my life if I'm sitting here watching this game? Or if you go to this game, for Houston, again, there's not much. What are they building around for the future here? Who are the pieces? Jalen Petrie on defense, Laramie Tunsil, who wants to reset the offensive tackle market. Well, I mean, we're happy for him. And you lose, you get the number 1 pick, you get your choice of quarterbacks. You have the number 1 pick, number 2 pick, you might still have your choice of quarterbacks. Again, Chicago, if they have the 1 pick, might want to just stay home. Sam Ehlinger's back. Oh man, never been so unhappy to see. What is the deal with not playing Matt Ryan? Is it to humiliate him or something? Is it to prove a point? I don't understand. Jeff Saturday really in contention to be the head coach next year? Really? What? I just feel bad for Colts fans. I think we can all go back to when Peyton Manning was released to give him his freedom to choose where his next team was. And then they somehow, Curtis Painter, right? They get the number 1 pick, Andrew Luck. And wow, what luck. No, this is where it's all ended up for the Colts. How did we get here? How did we end up watching this game?
What are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing? That's what both of these next teams are talking about. Like, what are you doing, Jets? What are you doing? And I did suggest on Denver Sports, I suggested that is Robert Saleh available? There's always been that battle I've talked about on this show because we know Mike McDaniel could be available because Stephen Ross is crazy, allegedly, or whatever. And there's always a surprise firing. Is that Robert Saleh? I don't think so. But you can't feel good about the way things have gone. You can't feel good about the fact you had to battle your front office to play a quarterback that you never wanted to play. Robert Saleh didn't want Zach Wilson. He didn't want to play that guy. And yet, guess who had to play him?
Yeah.
So that behind the scenes struggle, is it too much? I don't think Saleh, it's not like Robert would walk away. But,
No.
Is that where the front office wins out and say, you can't win with that guy? Like, teams are dumb. One thing we've learned, ownership is dumb. We've learned that over these years. So it's Jets in Miami, and both teams are like, what are we doing? What are you doing, Hans? What are you doing, Mike McDaniel, Robert Saleh? Get this thing right.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what if, right? What if
Mm.
this team didn't have all this static about the quarterback decision? Robert Saleh got to make a team in his image. And yeah, he's not going to give up on this. I mean, he wants to coach this team. He's created something that has momentum here. But like you said, sees ownership, GMs, makes you question, with the exception of maybe the Eagles, this picture of the GM being above the head coach in the food chain of should that really be that way? Honestly, because I think that might have been an issue here with the Jets. And of course, as Steelers fans, wearing my old childhood hat here, I didn't mention this. If Buffalo wins and the Jets win and the Steelers win, playoffs. So there's that to play for. But we know the Jets, people have been saying this about Dan Campbell. We'll get there. Motivation, whatever you have to play for, is not going to be a problem. I think we can say the same thing about Robert Saleh's Jets. On the Miami side, who's going to start at quarterback? You have Teddy Bridgewater with a finger injury. You have Tua Tagovailoa. I'm not sure when we're going to see him again. I'm not sure if we really want to see him again. Lots of ups and downs. What a season for Miami. I mean, I guess that's the thing with Miami. It's always going to be interesting, right? Some of the wildest flameouts, Nick Saban, Cam Cameron, so on. And different points in the season, it felt like this team might be knocking on the door of being in that mix of those young quarterbacks, those exciting teams, those teams that you put the two of them together, Miami and the Chargers, Kansas City and Buffalo, Cincinnati and Baltimore. Put any of these two together. Let's see how these quarterbacks play. But now, well, you may ended up with needing Skylar Thompson to beat a very good Jets defense to get in the playoffs, and they also need Buffalo to win, get in the playoffs. So where does it end up with Miami in a lot of ways? Cease, they don't control their future.
It's interesting. Interesting. All right. Carolina and New Orleans, another game that has me questioning life decisions.
Right.
And Sam Darnold's going to start. I don't know why we needed a news item on that. Oh yeah, I do.
Right.
It's because Darnold stunk, and it's like, okay, well, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? And it's not like there's any Matt Corral there to save you.
Right.
If you're Carolina, you're like, okay, trot him out there one more time against the Saints down in New Orleans. Saints fans will be fired up for that in this finale. But I'm just glad we don't have to talk about Panthers and Saints anymore after this week.
Yeah, it could be Jim Harbaugh. There's some buzz there, like you've been telling us he's Lamar Jackson or some big move at quarterback. Sam Darnold actually has at least improved his profile. Where would this Jets team we just talked about be if Sam Darnold was the quarterback? Probably in a better place, probably in the playoffs, not necessarily contending to go deep in the playoffs because of Darnold, but he actually made some pretty good throws and was in a bit of a duel, was in the running game last week. And Steve Wilkes also, would he get a chance again with Jim Harbaugh hovering in this conversation already? Steve Wilkes, what do you have to do to get a chance? Well, maybe a chance with another organization. Saints defense has been elite lately. Saints defense. See, if there's one thing Dennis Allen can do, it's not head coach, it's coach of defense.
Right.
So he's been able to do that. Ask Gardner Minshew. In New Orleans, first of all, say Friday is Epiphany. Carnival's going to start. Get your king cakes. Heading out to Don Fong. The best king cake in the world. It's one of the few things I actually get excited about, Cease. In honor of Anita Pointer and the Pointer Sisters, may she rest in peace. Also lost the original drummer for Earth, Wind, and Fire over the week. Oh, man. But I was thinking, I'm so excited. I don't know how excited you are to watch this game. I'm excited for my king cake. It's the Joan of Arc parade. It's Joan of Arc's birthday, the Maid of Orleans. And in New Orleans, well, they're going to have fun. No matter what, they're going to have fun with this game. And maybe the motivation here is lower the value of that pick that you traded away to the Eagles. Who's the coach going to be next year? Who's the quarterback going to be next year? Lots of questions, but we don't care because it's almost Mardi Gras.
It's almost Mardi Gras, and it's potentially party time in the Steel City. Browns and Steelers is up next, and you could see Pittsburgh work their way to the postseason with the magic of Kenny Pickett. It's never going to look great. It's going to be dirty. It's going to be nasty. It's going to be hard fought, no matter who they're facing. But if you can believe, it's about what the people around you believe.
Yeah,
and we're seeing that with Kenny Pickett. So let's talk about the Browns and see what they can do on the road against the Steelers.
Yeah, for the Browns, you're trying to set a tone or momentum into the Deshaun Watson era. He did play well last week against a very depleted Washington secondary. Amari Cooper, that $20 million price tag next year, looking very reasonable. Playing well with the 2 long touchdowns last week, even though he says he's playing hurt. You like to see that connection. David Njoku looks like he's going to be a good long-term piece. That worked out the patience with him. Donovan Peoples-Jones looks like he could be a long-term piece. And they can play spoiler. It's kind of back all the way to the 80s, right? Where the Browns, the Browns actually were pretty good for a bit there in the 80s. Ernest Biner and Mack and so on. But certainly this was a thing. The Browns couldn't win in Pittsburgh. So try to play spoiler here. For Pittsburgh, here we are back again. The Steelers need this to happen, and this to happen, and this to happen, and this to happen, and a partridge in a pear tree, and maybe they can go to the playoffs. Well, Buffalo beating New England, that's reasonable. The Jets beating Miami, that's reasonable. Take care of your business and beat the Browns. You're back in the playoffs. And I know all season, I'm a neurotic Steelers fan. Oh, who cares if Mike Tomlin gets some winning records? Because that's the thing. They can still have the winning record and not make the playoffs.
Right.
But I guess it does matter. It does matter in so much as it's just this team and how we talk about how I mentioned TCU and Max Duggan, and they were saying it's what we think about our team, not what they do. I think the Steelers have that. I think Mike Tomlin, I think that's maybe Mike Tomlin's culture,
Right.
It's what we think, what we feel about each other, what we commit, and not what anybody says about us. So you got the running game, you got the defense, you got Kenny Pickett, make a play when you need it. Kind of reminiscent of early Ben Roethlisberger. He's not going to be Ben Roethlisberger. Okay, that's a Hall of Fame quarterback. But a quarterback of the future, quarterback of the present. Looks like the Steelers did all right with that number 20 pick.
And run the hell out of the ball.
Yeah.
As Saline points out in the chat room, like, yeah, how do you deal with Kenny Pickett? Run the hell out of the ball.
Yeah.
And set things up for that young man. We'll see what the Steelers can set up this week. It's Chargers and Broncos, and it just doesn't matter. It does not matter at all whatsoever. And, people say I remember when Nathaniel Hackett was still here and people would be like, if they could only beat the Chargers at the end. No, he wasn't safe. He was never safe, but I get it. It's the access game, whatever. So Chargers side, Austin Eckler continue on being dominant and great. And of course, Big Mike Williams making crazy catches. Broncos are going to trot out Russell Wilson again. We'll see what he looks like. It's more of an information gathering thing. We'll see Albert Okwuegbunam like double clutch everything and drop 3 passes. Like that's what he does. See what, Sutton looks like after that bogus OPI call he got last week. Anyway, so again, Bloom, life choices. Chargers and Broncos. I wouldn't watch this, except I have to. So
yeah, right.
There you go.
Yeah, this is kind of like the Cleveland note we just had, right? It's like when you buy a house, right? It's one thing whenever you're looking at houses, but then when you buy the house and you live in, you're like, well, this is the house we were going to live in. It's kind of hard to get out of it now. Russell Wilson. And, well, we could fix this up. Oh, isn't it nice that we have this arched doorway? That's pretty cool. Ooh, the things we could do with this backyard. I mean, that's kind of where the Broncos are, right? Oh, boy, we're going to need to totally redo the plumbing. Let's not think about that. Let's think about how we could put a pool over here, right?
Let's think about every day.
Every day. And Vic Fangio, wasn't he supposed to be part of Sean Payton's staff? Anyway, for the Chargers, you're trying to clinch the 5 seed. And the Chargers, this is a fun season for them because there's no expectations. Just getting to the playoffs is an accomplishment. And again, Justin Herbert trying to show he belongs in that conversation of the great AFC young quarterbacks who have a chance to win not just one Super Bowl, but maybe multiple Super Bowls. And also Brandon Staley. Remember, Brandon Staley started out on an upward trajectory at the beginning of last year, a downward trajectory, turbulence this year, but they're going to make the playoffs and maybe have a chance to face the AFC South champion on the road and create some momentum. And the other thing we'll say about Denver is just what is it going to be like in that stadium? You're going to have
I'd say lots of Chargers fans, but that don't exist.
Right. I don't know. I mean, for
a
Broncos
mythical
fans,
creature.
And Cecil, you have a very close relationship to the Broncos fan base, and it's been. On one hand, you've got the Super Bowl win with Peyton Manning, right? I mean, you've got some things to celebrate. You have, of course, the John Elway years, but at the same time, this is a team that is in a bad place right now.
Up until Vance Joseph, you had more Super Bowl appearances than you did losing seasons from the mid 80s till now.
Right.
Like,
Right.
Broncos fans have been spoiled a long time. This is 7 years of crap.
Yeah, I think what we need on Sunday at the stadium cease is like minor league baseball kind of promotions, right? Maybe would they let the fans run the bases, like let the fans on the field after the game or something? I don't know, something to cheer them up, because yeah, we can put a pool over there, and oh, look at this, it has that nice faucet that you can take the sprayer out and makes it easier to do the dishes, even though the water's leaking on the floor.
Well, sparklers, everybody. Sparklers. That's fine.
Give it sparklers. I like that.
Yeah, there you go. They were giving away a lot of stuff at the last game.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes they'll do like one prize, like a F-150 or whatever. The last game there were like 10 different prizes.
Yeah.
So
get them out there.
Walmart. It's Walmart, man. Hey,
Clean up on aisle 5.
we'll catch you those deals, right? Clean up at Mile High. Power Field at Mile High. Got to get the sponsor right. All right. Giants Eagles, more interesting. Bloom. Much more interesting. Giants side. Love talking to Giants fans too, man, because they're so excited. Like, good. That's why you love football, man. So you can be excited about your team, and you can be excited about the future and Daniel Jones and all that. Like, yes, go. Eagles side is like, well, is Jalen Hurts got to play? He better. Like, he better play. As the Eagles try to get on the winning track before they head to the postseason as the most dangerous team in the league, so long as Jalen Hurts is healthy. So let's talk about it.
Corgi races. People love corgis. Maybe a corgi race at halftime in Denver.
Okay.
People would love that. Or they have the sausages and the presidents and the things. Like, have some sort of race between fake horses or something. The horses for the Giants may or may not play. And on one hand, you could say, hey, the Giants, if they play Minnesota in the first round, they may be playing the Eagles in the second round. So why not go harken back to week 17 in 2007, whenever they played the Patriots to the brink, a 17-0 Patriots team, a 16-0 Patriots team that eventually was an 18-1 Patriots team because of the Giants and because of the belief they had after they played that game that was seemingly meaningless for them, ended up being pretty meaningful, I think. On the other hand, this team has earned a lot. Brian Daboll has gotten everything he could out of this team, and it's okay to rest guys, especially Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones, and Jalen Hurts will be back in this one. You got to win to lock up the 1 seed, but are there seeds of doubt now for this team after the different ups and downs they've had? And so you wonder about the Eagles, you wonder about the Giants, and you wonder about Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley. I'll go on the record and say, after a season is successful, I don't care about the money. It's not my money anyway. It's the owner's money. Sign Daniel Jones to a 3-year deal, right? 3 years, $100 million, something like that. Sign Saquon Barkley to like a Nick Chubb deal, like a 3-year, $45 million deal, something like that. Keep the band together. See what this team can do, because they have a lot of young talent. They obviously have a coaching staff that has the team's attention, and they have a lot of room to improve, even though they're going to go to the playoffs and maybe make some noise.
Did you ever read Clockwork Orange's book?
I've not actually read the book. Of course, I've seen the Kubrick film, but it's, that's another one of those dystopian, post-apocalyptic, cautionary stories about ourselves. It fits in the canon. And
well, if Calbuto loves it, I gotta read that book then, because I've never read the book.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And of course, I've got that Clockwork Orange shirt that has blood. I'm not sure if it's me or my late great friend Jeff Wilson's blood that I'll wear every now and then. And you get 2 kinds of people that will come up to you when you wear the Clockwork. And it's the shirt I get the most comments on of all the shirts that I wear. And
really,
yeah,
out of your entire wardrobe, you
out
have
of my entire wardrobe,
my friend.
And
for someone who doesn't care about fashion, like you have like this.
It's
like,
expressive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's one of the moments I knew that there was something special, true love between Kate and I. When she said, I like your T-shirt collection. Like, I have a T-shirt collection. Like, that's actually like a thing for me. Anyway, you get 2 kinds of people with Clockwork Orange. You get the people like, great film, great book, great story. Love the shirt. And then you can be like, I love your shirt. You get it. Like, ooh. Okay. Anyway, where were we?
I don't know. We could talk about Clockwork Orange and said Soylent Green is people. Let's talk about the Cardinals and the 49ers up next. Now with more Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy would be a great backup to Tom Brady next year. But he's been a great starter for this team and going up against Vance Joseph defense and whoever the hell Arizona's going to trot out a quarterback. Like, all right, 49ers, go handle your business and then get to the postseason as healthy as you can to make a roll.
Yeah, for Arizona, again, it's the end of an era. I don't know if the ownership knows it's the end of an era, but it's the end of an era. And we'll see. San Francisco wants to get their flex back on defense after what Jared Stidham did to them last week. San Francisco needs to win to get that 2 seed. That's kind of important. Again, with Philadelphia, maybe not as solid as a number 1 seed, or maybe it's Dallas as a 1 seed, or maybe it's San Francisco as a 1 seed. San Francisco, that 2 seed, holding on to that is important. Also, as a postscript, Cease, I think we can say I don't want to be too definitive because it's the NFL. As soon as you say something definitive, it makes you look silly the next week, right? I think the Christian McCaffrey trade worked out. I think it's a trade that we can look at those picks and what they gave up and what McCaffrey adds to this offense. Because, see, we can say Brock Purdy, yes. But would Brock Purdy be this successful if they didn't have a running game truly striking fear in the hearts of the opponents with Christian McCaffrey? And doesn't it just seem like McCaffrey is freed? I mean, we talk about free this player. McCaffrey's freed where not only is he one of the best players at his position in the NFL, but now what he does really matters because it's a franchise going places. We'll see how far. We'll see if Jimmy Garoppolo joins them up the road a bit.
Nah, just down the road. Let's see if they even want him to join them.
Ooh.
Yeah, they didn't want Jimmy. They've been trying to move on from Jimmy.
Right.
Forever.
Right. I'm still here. You need me to rake leaves or something?
Right. Rams and Seahawks is the next game up, and it just doesn't matter for the Rams, and they'll try to run it back. Who the hell knows who's even going to be around next year? Like when I think of the Rams, I just go, is Aaron Donald retiring?
Sean McVay.
And when
Matthew
he does,
Stafford.
and I say this very seriously, Bloom. Like I know players that are concerned about Aaron Donald when he retires because football's everything for him. So it's like, what's that guy going to do after football? So, hopefully find whatever next career path he wants. Seattle side is like Kenneth Walker. And then why did they let us down DK Metcalf? Like, okay, so is that going to be a little more robust against the Rams this week? The Rams tighten up usually when the team gets to the red zone defensively. So we'll see what Seattle can do. And of course, they'll try to hammer them on the ground.
Yeah, the Rams can play spoiler here. Baker Mayfield reviving his career. Cam Akers reviving his career. They can play spoiler here. Seattle doesn't quite control their own destiny. They need Detroit to win also to go to the playoffs. And again, a real strange thing here. And some folks set me straight on this because I was really quite bothered, to be honest, that the Green Bay game wasn't happening at the same time as this game. The Green Bay Detroit game we'll get to, because the NFL has been really circumspect about games that have intertwined. The World Cup does this in the last round of group play. Games that have intertwined destiny, outcome, interrelatedness happen at the same time. So there's nothing that can affect what's going on in one game because you already know the outcome and you already know what's on the line. Although Pete Carroll, Dan Campbell, they're going to have their guys motivated regardless. And we'll see what happens with Kenneth Walker. I see pet peeve. It's okay to spend a second round pick on a running back. I'm okay with that. When you get a running back that gives your team
who's not okay with that?
People who look at running back as a fungible position or
those people are morons.
So Kenneth Walker is going to lead the way here, and then Geno Smith, and we have to give it up for that Jets defense with Tyler Lockett. Got a little banged up leg injury last week. I think his finger's okay. DK Metcalf, Colby Parkinson, if you're looking for a tight end with Will Dissly out. But the main thing we have to say, regardless whether the Seahawks make the playoffs or not, the story here has been vindication for Geno Smith. Get your bag, get your respect that you've earned and deserve, and vindication for Pete Carroll as our good friend Matt Walden, but the Willy Wonka of the NFL.
That's true. Who's got the golden ticket? Cowboys and Commanders is up next in this one, and always an interesting game, but not this year because the Commanders, poor Ron Rivera, please, Jeff Bezos, buy that team, Please, someone just take it over. Like, someone get in there. I feel sorry for the players because there's quite a few Commanders players that I really, really like. Really like. They're damn good, and they're not getting highlighted or featured the way that they should. They don't have a quarterback. Like, whatever. So Cowboys in this one, they want to roll as they prepare for their own, hopefully for Cowboys fans, deep playoff run.
Yeah, they're still in it for the division. The Cowboys are still in it for the 1 seed, still in it to see how far they can drag Mike McCarthy. We'll see if Tony Pollard's back. Again, he didn't play last Thursday. Wait and see. I think Davis actually looked pretty good. And T.Y. Hilton was a good signing, by the way. T.Y. Hilton is instantly contributing to this team.
How did Jerry make a good decision? Because he wanted Odell Beckham Jr. and then he was like, "No, I don't think so."
Right,
like,
right.
What?
Like,
Jerry Jones making good decisions?
Right. They're like, sir, his knee can't actually support, a plastic tray. Well, okay. Well, who else is out there? T.Y. Hilton. Let's bring in T.Y. Hilton. So a very important game for Dallas. For watching, I think we're going to see some Sam Howell. The word is we're going to see some Taylor Heineke and some Sam Howell. So then, looking to the future, they need a quarterback. What are they going to try? Next, Washington can play spoiler here and relegate Dallas having to go to Tampa Bay in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, the first round of the playoffs. Lions and Packers, Bloom.
Yeah, kind of the first round of the playoffs.
I was gonna say this has a playoff feel for your Lions, right? Going on to Lambeau, like, okay, let's see what those Lions can do. Obviously, we got to talk about Green Bay as well, but yeah, this is better than some of the games we've talked about.
Right, a lot better. And again, I didn't finish this note. Some folks set me straight because the NFL used to only have one island game on week 18, week 17, the last week of the season. Since they moved to this format when every game in the last week of the season is a divisional game, and because they have these 2 games on Saturday, why now they're kind of in a bind, right? So I guess because of the ratings that go along with Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay, because this is a compelling game regardless, even if Seattle wins and Detroit, this doesn't become a win and you're in game, still this is compelling because you weigh it out, because you got to think about this isn't necessarily a rivalry. See, this is a rivalry when one team wins so often in recent history. It's not really, but rivalry. Detroit wants to show it's a rivalry. Detroit wants to show now, yeah, it's a rivalry. So even if you can't make the playoffs, what's sweeter, making the playoffs or keeping Green Bay from making the playoffs in their house? So Detroit's primed. You have the running game clicking, you have Goff, you have all these targets, Jameson Williams. Everything is set up for them to really confound a Green Bay defense, which has, quite frankly, underachieved. Rodgers, we've seen his journey this year, and it doesn't turn into a good trip. Does it turn into a movie with a triumphant moment here at the end, at least of the regular season? You're going to rely on the running game. Christian Watson looked okay, so you have that now vertical dimension to the passing game. It's winning you're in. It's in Lambeau. It's a fitting and historic place to end this regular season. Maybe? Is it the end of the regular season? Well, tune in and find out.
Tune in and find out. And away we go. Cecil Lammey, Sigmund Bloom here on the Audible, and it's an emotional time, everyone. So just be cool out there. I made some people mad at the beginning of the show. I was telling everybody about, hey, how about we just be people? Like, yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. What do I always say, Bloom? It's the greatest comeback ever, and I hate like when Stacey uses it on me. You'll be all right. You'll be all right.
Right.
I'm really upset. You'll be all right.
It's not about you.
Exactly.
It's not about you.
Exactly.
But yeah, and look, I just want to stress that I hope that some of the values and some of the things that we've seen, caring about each other, let's just start there, caring about each other, seeing each other as human beings. Let's carry that forward to everything, and let's use this as a moment like the new year to start over and maybe try to keep things aligned with our closely held values, our closely held beliefs, and keeping close to each other.
Very good. Sigmund Bloom. You follow him on Twitter at Sigmund Bloom. I'm at Cecil Lammey. Don't follow me. The show is at The Audible. Everyone gets a kick at it. Well, again, we got long conversations we could have, which I suppose we could. I mean, hell, it's the week 18 preview.
It's off season.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're in official off-season mode. So no recap show in week 18. We did get a question on Twitter, which I didn't answer, and I apologize. But like, because somebody asked me something that was about Russell Wilson, and I said, man, I don't spend a lot of time on this app. Like, and that's on purpose, by the way. But somebody did ask us, like, are you guys going to do playoff? Yes, we do playoff preview shows. Yes, we will have Senior Bowl Shrine Game shows. Yes. We will have coaching carousel shows, news and notes shows. I don't know if we'll have one on Black Monday, Bloom, because there'll be a lot of activity, and we may. If not, we should be on Tuesday. So, we little tiny bits of breaks, but we do have plenty of content still coming out, of course, here on our Football Guys channel. And thank you all for helping us with the YouTube overlords and the algorithm. And like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. It always happens. Bloom, it's super quick before we go.
Yeah.
Musical recommendations, because for some reason, and I'm not sure why, it might be because I was writing, and like, I love and used to love Head PE. But there was like a few albums that went by and I just didn't listen to them. And then I went back and I listened to them and I was like, oh, I still love Head PE. So I'm wearing my Head PE shirt today. So is there ever a band for you that you like really loved, and then kind of, you started listening to other stuff and they kept putting out stuff that you didn't hear, and then you go back and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's good too. Any band like that for you? You have much classical taste than me, because I'm going to tweet out Renegade. So there's your Twitter special. I'm going to tweet out the video for Renegade, because I was like, yeah, I still love Head PE, man.
Yeah, I'll give you two stories, okay? Try not to belabor these. And thanks everyone for coming out, by the way. Because again, look, folks, I'm going to be honest, pull the veil back and say this wasn't an easy show to prepare for and do. This was not a show. The beautiful thing about having this job, some of it's working with my good friend Cecil and all the great people at Football Guys, is it fills me back up with energy I need to do it. And y'all are a big part of that. But today was not a day when the energy to do this show and the verve and the passion just came naturally. And seeing all our good people here, it lifts your spirits. Two stories. My favorite band when I was 3-4 years old was Kiss, and got a little away from that. And then in the mid 80s, denim jackets with back patches, right? And I got there was like ads. I forget what magazine or something was in, but you could see all the different back patches they had. Got my Kiss Destroyer,
it's like Hit Parader or something
like that. Yeah. And I got my Kiss Destroyer back patch on my denim jacket when I was in middle school, and just rediscovered Kiss, pre-makeup Kiss. Okay, I mean makeup Kiss, not pre-unmasked Kiss. All right. Because
Dynasty, their disco album's good. People hated it, but
I can't get the high note. I was made for loving you, baby. Yeah, that's great. It's a great love song. You were made for loving me. And then another one I'll say real quick is I remember discovering Jamiroquai when I was in college. And there's music that it just kind of, also there's some disco elements there, that the music that you listen to when you're at that weightless point in your life, like 19, 20, 21 years old, when you think you know everything and all of the possibilities of life are right there before you, right? There's whatever music you listen to at that time of your life, and of course I could talk about Fish Tour too, is connected to that feeling. And I had kind of strayed, Jamiroquai, believe it or not, I do dance a little bit. And that's the music that makes me want to dance, right? Napoleon Dynamite we were talking about. And they came back stateside just about 4 years ago, I think it was in 2018, and just did a handful of shows like Coachella and San Francisco. I was so pleased. A true pinch me moment was making it out there to the Bill Graham Civic Auditorium to see Jamiroquai. So yeah, it's always good to get back in. Everybody go back out there. Remember, it's one of those things that made you excited when you were young and feel young again today.
He is Sigmund Bloom. I am Cecil Lammey. We are the Audible. Until next time, be safe, be kind. By the way, Bloom, I was studying mudras last night. Do you know what mudras are?
No.
They're your hand positioning in like yoga and meditation. Yes, the various things that mean different things, different energies. Yes. So yes, be safe, be kind, know that you are appreciated, stay tuned, and as always, please, I ask you to stay frosty.